real crazily. You upset me, baby. Yes, you upset me, baby. Like being hit by a falling tree. Baby, what you do to me? Not too tall, complexion is fair. Man, she knocked me out the way she wears her hair. You upset me, baby. Yes, you upset me, baby. Like being hit by a falling tree. Baby, what you do to me?
BB, let's start this discussion by talking about some of your influences. Who would be probably the primary influence in your career?
I think I'd have to say Lonnie Johnson along with Blind Lemon. Those was the two main influences in the beginning. Now, neither played exactly alike. Lonnie had a way of playing that, to me, it was not really traditional blues, but then it wasn't jazz either. It seemed to be somewhere kind of in between. Lonnie Johnson was a little more mod than Blind Lemon, but Blind Lemon had a way of playing with certain rhythm patterns. It seemed like to me he would be playing, I can't do too well with my thumb and finger, but he would be playing, let's say if he was in key of E.
Right.
I wanna go home. See, I got to first find the key. I think about it. I wanna go home, but I ain't got sufficient clothes, doggone my bad luck soul. And then he'd start. You know, and ease it out like when I would, instead of him double timing as the musicians started to use the word,
Right.
I would expect him to continue that, but he wouldn't. He'd find certain spots.
I see.
Well, now Lonnie Johnson was altogether different. Lonnie, to me, even though Blind Lemon had certain little phrases that he would do that would remind me of Lonnie Johnson. For instance, like Lonnie would be in the, say, in the key of E as we were, and I'd hear this. It's kind of like somebody using good diction speaking to me. Like that.
Lonnie wouldn't use the finger vibrato as
No,
much. Yeah.
not like that. This came about in my case from listening to the bottleneck. I have a cousin named Booker White, had a cousin rather, and he would put a bottleneck or take a knife or some kind of metal piece and, you know, and they could do that.
Right.
My fingers have never been able to do it, but when I would take a guitar and my ears tell me that that sound a little bit like, you know, the
Bottleneck, right.
if you had the bottleneck. So that's how I started to do it. Well, so after so long, after listening to Blind Lemon, after listening to Lonnie Johnson, when I would try to mimic them or do as they did, which I didn't do a very good job, I would always wind up. To me, to sustain that, it's kind of like, I'm not very good with words either, but if I'm talking to try and make a point to you,
Right.
okay, I might start it, and it's like telling a joke. If I start it like so, like that, and cut it off, you don't get the point.
Right.
But if I do, then I feel that you'll laugh.
The
behind
sustained
that. They
carriage.
get the point. Mhm.
Yeah.
That's when I'm really stressing the point. I want to really get, in other words, it's in here then.
So let's break down what you're just playing here. You're bending with the third finger and then releasing and bending the next string with your third finger, right?
Right. What I try to do, though, is to have control over each one of them.
Right.
For instance, like if I'm on this E here,
Right.
or if I want to hit an E way up, I'll also, but the trill is mostly in this, it's like this. Don't know the right words.
Right. So your hand isn't even on the neck. Your thumb isn't even on the neck. It's just your finger that's
Just-
doing the.
Just my finger there. And if you could see it from this side, you see I'm not even touching it there.
Right. It's just the only thing that's touching your neck is your pinky right
Just,
now.
that's the
Yeah.
only one.
Yeah.
And one thing I noticed, though, with a good amplifier, even without an amp, I can sustain that.
Right.
And if I got a pretty good amp, you can sustain it as long as you want. Sort of like being up in a glider plane, as long as you got the current, I mean, you know, airflow. And I think a lot of it has to do with how even you. Another thing, I use quite a bit of treble on the guitar. And the way that came about, I cannot hear lows like most people. Okay, I can't hear the bass E or
B.
the D or either one of them as the B either. I can't hear it like I could the E up top or this B up here. I can hear those. So that's one of the reasons why I use a lot of highs, because I hear it better.
BB, let's talk about T-Bone Walker and the influence he had on you.
Well, T-Bone Walker to me had a style and a sound that I never heard anybody really, even till today, completely imitate exactly what he did. Now, a few guys I've heard get close to it, but he had a way of bending the strings. That might be the reason why I bend the strings today. But T-Bone didn't really bend his bending most of it was like that.
Yeah.
see if I can get a little bit. He had another way of starting, like the intro to a song that used to just kill me. And I guess this is one of the reasons why I use ninth chords today.
Could you play that lick a little slower and just go through it?
Okay, all right.
Great.
He would start. Then it seemed to me that he would start with his pinky finger here.
Right.
Yeah. Well, first with this one.
Right. So he would bend the C to a D.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then play the D on the adjacent string on the B string.
Right.
Okay.
And then to the G and
Right.
and back up to
Right.
what, the F.
F, right.
Mm-hmm. And if you do it fast, it will sound. So I think it went twice, so let me try it again. Like that, so. Like that.
And you're bending that B flat just a hair.
Just a hair.
Just a hair.
Mhm.
It's almost a quarter step bend.
Mm-hmm. Not as much as you did in the beginning with the rest of them.
Right.
And then he would go, let's see, he would hit maybe this a G7 with the dominant 7. I've never been able to do that, so I have to, like that. And then that's when he would go from the 1 to the 4.
And there you're in the 8th position.
In the 8th position.
Right, playing off of that chord pattern, right.
Well, the reason why I do that is because if I would stay, for instance, here, I can't control the strings as I wish. In other words, because I got too many open strings here. So I could have gone to the C here.
Right.
But I couldn't control, and in fact, I can't even figure nothing I can do with it. Yeah, but that wouldn't work for what I would want there. So naturally, I would come back instead of being from this G to this C here. So playing the blues to me, even though it's proper for the person to learn all of the positions possible,
Right.
but then you'll find it's kind of like, in my case, it's kind of like an ingredient that you would be fixing a malt. You put something in, you know, put a little chocolate in it, the milk, and so on. Well, I think what I'm trying to say, you find the one that sounds the best to you, but learn them all.
Right.
Which I didn't. So when I come up here, if I do it slowly,
Something that most guitar players don't do is you bend up with the first finger. Most guitar players rely on their third finger to bend.
Yes.
And I see in that position, you bend the C to a D on the 8th fret with your first finger. That's very unique. There you go, yeah.
or
Does that come out of the T-Bone Walker school, or is that something that you've added to his style?
I think it's something I added to it. Because, as I mentioned earlier, T-Bone was good with bending with this third finger there.
Right. Right.
That's one of the things. That's all I can mimic. All I can remember. I wish they could have played exactly like him. But I found, though, that when I came up here to this position here, to the 8th fret, what I'm going to do here, I can't do that there. So I need something to sustain, something to hold my own mind to. Other words, I'm trying to make a point. So. Right. To me, that resolved back to there. And then sometimes, it's according to how carried away I might be, I might come up to the 10th fret and do the same thing.
Now, when you go up to the 10th fret, you're going to be playing over the 5 chord,
there,
chord, right?
Yeah.
Which would be the D in this case. Yeah.
Right.
To C, back down to G.
But I can't control it so down here as much.
Right.
But a lot of times using the D for the guy playing blues down here, this one comes good. Or if you're trying to play a chord, well, the C comes good down because it's lower and you got more body to me down here than you would have. Yeah. So I personally, though, I like it if we were playing, for instance, if you do a 1, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Then the 5. That's the way I resolve it.
Yeah, that was a beautiful lick that you played from over the D chord back down to the C chord.
Don't ask me to do it again.
Oh, okay.
Well, we'll try it anyway.
That was great. That was.
Try it again.
Okay. Great. Terrific.
The one thing, though, I think, playing the blues again, we kind of cut across the boundaries of proper progressions, and you sort of put the note in that sounds good. In other words, you may not run the whole chord. For instance, like we're in G, right? Well, if a guy is fast and can do it, like I know a lot of the guys got fast fingers and can do, well, my fingers are not so fast, so I think I used the word I called trading
speed for taste, maybe.
Yeah. So I would do, in the G chord, I might hit the tonic, push up on the C there, push it up to D again. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Back to the B flat.
And there's that bend again when you just
yeah. Well, that's what I hear. So I'll take the 4 of the G,
right,
which is the C, right?
Right.
But I don't want to hit it. I don't want to hit the D first, so I like to slide up to it.
And then you take that B flat and just nudge it almost between B flat and B.
Right.
Yeah. That's great.
Now, sometimes if I got the time, I might bring it on up to, but most times it sounds better to me Then I'd go back to the 1 again. Then, if I got enough time again and want to play around with it just a little bit, to the 5,
That would be the
right?
5 chord,
Mhm.
right? Could you do that lick again? Because that's... So you're bending the...
Starting
on the E,
on
right?
the E, and go up to the F.
F sharp, right?
Then we come back down to the 8th fret again.
Right.
So I haven't played that many notes, but it's still
But
kind
you've
of going
said
to the
everything that
pattern.
needs to be said.
Well, anyway, that's the way I got started trying to do it. Well, also I find that country music as well as jazz, gospel, all of it creeps in there just a little bit into your blues feeling. So you want to, I guess if you were playing a tune that had a lot of changes, then you don't have to worry then about what note to put in because the notes are all there. For instance, if I was, let's say it was now if you were doing that, well then you're busy anyway.
Right.
But if you're only playing just, you know, hey, for 1, 4, and 5, 12-bar blues, well, you got to try to find something that's going to not only interest you, but interest the person that might be listening to you. So I think technically you got a lot to do. A lot to do because you got to really find, I quite often use the word like you have a road map. So you may stop by this mailbox and see who lives there and so on and so on. But when you're playing so and you could just keep going like that. But if you're playing blues, you need and you really got to be placing them in the right place. So I think a lot of times, you know, people quite often say, well, anybody can play the blues. Yes, you can. Anybody can do most anything. But would you like it?
It's how you play the blues.
Yes, I think so.
Let's just go over that progression real quickly for our viewers. It would be, you'd play a G6, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the 3rd fret
Yes.
to E7th on the 5th fret,
Right.
to A7th on the 5th fret,
Yeah.
to D7th on the 3rd fret.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see, what kind of tune could I play? So you could play, I guess, it's so many tunes you could play. using that kind of progression, then maybe what we call a little bridge after that you can put in there. So it's a lot that you can do, and you can make that bluesy. It can be very bluesy if I had anything in my head that could bring out a melody, really.
Rock me, baby. Rock me all night long. Rock me, baby. Honey, rock me all night long. Rock me, baby. Like my back ain't got no bone. Rock me, baby. Honey, rock me slow. Rock me, baby. Honey, rock me slow. Rock me, baby, till I won't no more. Rock me, baby, like you roll a wagon wheel. Rock me, baby, like you roll a wagon wheel. Rock me, baby, don't know how it makes me feel.
The jazz influence on you, namely Charlie Christian, for example.
Right.
What can you tell us about him? What did you get from him?
Charlie Christian, to me, was a master at using diminished chords. It seemed to me that when I first started to hear music as a whole, they didn't have names for a lot of the chords like we do today, a flat five, or augmented, five, or fifth, or whatever. And the many chords, so a lot of the arrangers seemed to me to, I don't know if it was just a good way to get out of it, they would use diminished chords to move from one point to another, a lot of cases. Well, it seemed to me that was just, that was just fitted for Charlie Christian. I used to hear him with Benny Goodman. They had tunes like 7 Coming 11 and so on, Solo Flight and all these things. Well, it seemed to me that the writers, whoever was writing for them, would just and any bridge or any release, any place, they turn it over to Charlie and he'd go to town with it. Sort of like, in my words, it's kind of like seeing people running track, you know, and I got this, the whatever it is, and I bring it and I pass it to you and you go with it. Yeah. Well, that's the way it seemed to be with Charlie Christian. Whenever they give him that
baton,
yes, he'd run with it.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I learned from him. I could never master it though, but I'll use it a lot now unintentionally. I'll use it not realizing I'm doing it. So if I'm in G again, I might something. So if we had a little, say if we had a little bit of just a little bit of a bounce going, something like that, yeah. So that's what he used to.
Slow that down for us. Just run through it.
What he would do sound to me like.
So what you're doing is you're playing a pattern starting on the 3rd fret of the low E string, which would be G, and then you're playing the B flat with your 3rd finger, as opposed to your 4th finger.
Right.
And that instantly shifts you to the next position, to the 4th position, where you hit the D flat or the C sharp with your 1st finger.
Which is not proper fingering at all.
It sounds great, and a lot of different players handle the diminished patterns different ways. Play that again slowly if you could.
Okay.
And you keep that pattern going until there, right?
Then I might take it back up.
That's another pattern. Okay. One more time. So that one you're starting on the.
I'll start on this.
On
this
the E
here, yeah.
2nd fret, 4th string.
Then the
do
G.
The same thing with your 3rd finger.
It's on the G.
Right on the G. 1st finger on the B flat.
B flat. Then B flat to.
Now you use your 4th finger on the
4th
B flat.
To the E.
E natural.
Then the G.
The G. And there's your diminished arpeggio.
And the B flat.
B flat, right?
But he could keep running them and it was like.
In all these different positions, yeah.
I sit there and go crazy. Now that's what Charlie Christian would do. But Django Reinhardt also was another influence as far as the jazz was concerned. And Django had only 3 fingers up here that he could work with, so he played a lot of two fingers like that. But he was so fast.
Really?
But what I got from him was once he'd start. So it was a little off from what I wouldn't have.
That's you're going from the a flat 3rd to the natural 3rd, and then hitting the flat 7th right after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would never do that. I would. That's what I would do. So actually, it's just a dominant 7th, but his would be more slick. Then another thing he would do, he had. I was talking about those 2 fingers, because these 2 fingers of his was, he was burned in an accident and they was together all the time. So he had just 3 fingers that he could stretch, so he would. And the rhythm, the way he played it, oh man, he had so many things that he would do. Well, I will do that now from time to time, but I'll probably do it this way. And that's the way I use it in the blues.
So you're going from the third position, you're playing the thirds, E and G, sliding up to
B flat,
to G and B flat, and then doing your classic lick.
Well, that's the way I hear it.
Yeah. You've been listening to horn players through the years too, and I know that Louis Jordan was an influence on you. Talk a little bit about him.
Yes. I think what I learned from Louis Jordan, you hear it quite often. Louis had a thing going, let's see, okay, with his horn. Oh, again. So that's the way he was phrased on his horn. So I got started doing it with the guitar because it seemed it's the only way I could hear things. So I would start again. I still hear the alto. I'm still hearing the horn. So that's what I hear from him. And I guess that's a big part of, because when I try to phrase like that, I can still hear, you know, it's not so staccato like well, the guitar's supposed to be, you know. Well, I don't hear it like that. I hear sustaining, kind of lingering on.
You have to show us that bend there.
Okay. All right, to go.
So you're actually bending a minor third from the D to the F.
I guess it is.
That's what it is. It's incredible.
So I might hear that last part, and when I hit that, what am I hitting here? Oh, the that A again. And the A up to the B again.
Oh, A up to the B, right.
I've never sat down and thought about it as we are talking, so it's just something I hear.
Yeah.
To me, it resolved back there. Louis Jordan, to me, was a superb musician, and the one thing that I got mostly from him was the phrasing, the way I showed you just a few minutes ago. I can still hear his horn.
So let's talk about some of your other jazz influences, Johnny Hodges, Lester Young.
Yeah, Johnny Hodges, Lester Young, also the trumpeter Bobby Hackett. All three of these guys was a big influence on my trying to learn to phrase. I could never play like, as I've said, I guess, many times on this since we've been talking, could never play like either, but I like standard tunes. I like a lot of the standard tunes, and my early years, I had guys in the band like Hank Crawford, George Coleman, Fred Ford, a lot of the people that today are very, very big. Even my first record I cut, Phineas Newborn was on it, and also was his brother Calvin. However, they used to try to teach me tunes. I guess that's kind of it's kind of a good thing for young people to get together because they're not afraid to learn. Listening to Johnny Hodges, for instance. I guess if I had kept going, I would. But I like the way he seemed to just lay on and.
But it's funny how you're phrasing that completely BB. It's completely your own style. You got the bends and the legato and the trills and everything.
Well, that's the way I feel it. And if I was going to keep, playing it, that's the only way I see that I could make it sound. Because when I hear him play it, then I'm like that,
Do you phrase differently on a slow groove or on a fast groove?
Yes, it would be different because if I was playing, all right, let's take this thing, in, or 8-bar thing. I feel like I'm talking to the person. I feel like I'm talking to the person.
Yeah, it sure sounds like it.
The bridge.
Yeah, that's great.
So I feel then that that's like the phrasing is a bit slower, and I try to make it more personal, put more me in it. I love to play. I like to play tunes, but I can hear the lead, like even in standard tunes, I can hear them. But I don't try a lot of standard tunes. And one of the reasons I don't try them, I may know the melody, but I'm afraid I'm jump the time on it. So I have to do a lot of practicing before I start on try to do, just do tunes. But in the early years, when I first started, I used to try to do tunes like Lady Be Good, oh gosh, even Body and Soul and things like that. But that was because when I was younger, a lot of the good musicians, as we mentioned, Hank Crawford, we had Evelyn Young and Herman Green, a whole lot of the people that was around me, George Coleman, Booker Little, all the guys that was around me at that time knew these tunes, and for some reason they liked me and wanted me to learn them. So they taught me a lot, and I used to try them when I had nerve. But after a while, then I decided that for the time being, I would just stick to what I'm doing. And I think it paid off a little bit because I was able to really get in. I concentrated on that. I think of my playing a lot of times like we do doctors. Some doctors are MDs, and then there are others that are specialists in this and that. So I thought that I'd try to specialize in the blues the way I play them for a while.
Came to the top of your field.
Thank you.
One more thing. Do you sing to yourself when you solo? Because I notice when you play, your mouth is actually singing the lines while you're playing them.
I used to laugh at a lot of them musicians, I see them. And I'm sitting up there laughing. I don't laugh so much now when I see myself. When I was married, my wife used to say I looked like a guy eating lemons, you know, lemon face, she'd call me. But I'm really into what I'm doing, so it doesn't matter to me what I look like at that time, because I'm really interested in what I'm doing.
And you hear the notes in your head, obviously,
yes, I do.
at the same time that they come out of the instrument.
Yes, I do.
But my mother, and she could be jiving too. Hey, nobody loves me but my mother, and she could be jiving too. So now you know why I act funny with you, baby. Oh, when you do the thing you do.
I've noticed that you sometimes play sixths. Maybe that's where your country influence. This.
That's an old blues sound, man, that I heard long before I ever heard country music.
Really?
Oh, yeah. The average guy, that average blues player, this.
That's it.
I can't do it that well. Let me change key. Say I'm in G.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of times it comes in handy when you, well, you know, blues a dominant seventh is always one of the great sounds for blues music. So if you're getting ready to change, so you're getting ready to go to your four chord then.
Yeah.
And it'll lay on that.
Turn, you land right on the dominant, on the flat seventh of the chord. And that's hitting the 5, and then the 4, using the same chord fragment. Yeah.
So I heard that from the blues players long. Lonnie Johnson did that. Blind Lemon did it. All of those guys back then. Barbecue Bob, and I could just name you a whole lot. Charlie Patton. So I heard that long before I heard country, but I love country music. The sound, though, those triad sounds have always been in my head, still stay there. Because the gospel songs that I used to play and sing in, well, you know, we still use triads. In fact, just a little taste of diminish on rare tunes. Rare, I mean, it had to be something that's supposed to be a tune with a lot of changes, you know, so it's rare. And you know, even today, that country and gospel sound is still in my head. So any tune that I may play that's bluesy, real bluesy, you still dissect it and you'll find the gospel and the country right there, because that was the beginning of me. And if anything get a little complicated today, when I say complicated, I mean beyond, well, in other words, when the chords become altered, you play enough flatted 5s or augmented whatever it may be, and I don't hear them too well. They sound foreign. It's like speaking a different language.
Do you think those chords take away from the authenticity of the earlier styles?
Well, for me, I've always tried to continue to advance. This never did kill me just to stay. I like it. Now that's what I first heard. Now, I like this. But I couldn't be satisfied with just thumb picks and doing that. Especially when I saw other people using the plectrum. So that's when I said, if it kills me, I'm going to learn to use it. So I learned, but this one is, this is not a medium, this is a high.
Use a heavy pick.
Heavy pick. And one of the reasons I use a heavy pick is because I can hit them pretty hard. But for speed, one could use a lighter pick, smaller, and I'm sure it'd be much faster. But I, kind of like an old saying once, animals up a tree eating grapes, and the animal that couldn't climb the tree yelled up at the others, say, "Throw some grapes down." They say, "You want them? Come get them." He knew he couldn't climb the tree, so he said, "Well, they sour anyway." Well, that's the way I am. I can't play that fast, so I rather have the hard pick. And other words, I compensate the slowness, precise, I call myself saying. Other words, substitute, I should say, and that for the speed.
Speaking of picking, do you mostly pick down, or do you pick up or down? Or?
More times down than up.
You find more
My
control
later
that way?
years, more control, but I would much rather be able to do, you know, up and down. If I'm trying to run a scale, I use it. But a lot of times when the pressure's on me and I want to make sure that I don't miss this. So if I try to, it doesn't come out as well.
It sound the same.
Yeah, not to me.
It has a lot more authority, a lot more bite to it.
Right. So see, it doesn't matter too much now. Because you've said what you wanted to say, but That's another thing that when we was talking, I didn't mention. To keep this going a little bit, I hit it and pull it again.
I think we should do that a little slower so that. So you start on the. Where is that?
Start with that D there.
D, right?
D to the F.
To the F. To the
G. To the B flat.
B flat, right?
To the C.
And then you bend that.
Bend it. And then I kick it again with my finger.
You pull it off with your third finger to the first finger. I see. And then you resolve it.
Go back to the G again.
Right. That's a signature idea of yours. That's
now, if you ask me how I came about it,
yeah,
I don't know how to tell you, but it's there.
Yeah.
And I hear a lot. Again, we go back to my ears tell me that that sounds pretty good. Because it resolved back on the G again.
Right.
I'm not good with my right hand, like, especially like a lot of contemporary players. Boy, they got them chops, and I just wished I could do, you know. Here you go. Yeah. You know, like this.
Yeah.
I can't do it. So I have to make best with what I got.
Yeah.
What I got. So what I'll do a lot of times to cheat a little bit. Let's see. Intentionally.
Yeah. So what is it exactly that you do? Because that is such a signature blues sound.
Well, I was told a long time ago that two tones, if you cup your hand, put your hand on the strings and hold it, you're hitting a lot of the strings, but not making a sound on them, with the exception of
the last note.
That make these two down here sound bigger because of when you do strike them.
Yeah.
It seem like the ears are waiting. You know, what you got? When is it coming? You know, and then finally, there it is. Well, that's what I'm pretty good with. Putting this part of the fat part of my hand on this.
So you mute the strings with your right hand, not with your left hand.
Not with my left.
And do you usually hold a chord form when you do the rake? Because I see you holding the C chord there.
I usually will hold a chord form, yes. That's so the minute that I reach the end here, I got it here on the left hand. So my right hand is not so good with even the downstroke. I've got to be very careful. I'll miss strings from time to time. You probably heard me fluff a lot of them. I don't seem, you know, it's supposed to be there. Where is it? You know, this is what my hand is saying. But in my later years, in the last 10 or 15 years, I guess, I've did more up and down picking than ever before. I've wanted to do it. I've practiced doing it. But
when you do a rake downward, you do a rake upwards too, don't you?
Rarely. The rake upward was like, that's the only time.
That's a great. So what are you doing there? Hey, well, might as well, right?
Yeah. Well, I first, most times, come down with that muted sound.
And then you're going from major to minor, I see. You're holding a major chord form, and when going back down, you're hitting the minor arpeggio, I see. That's such a signature sound. I'm glad we're covering it.
But the way I play, I guess, if I'm playing in major or minor, for instance, if I'm in C like I am now, C major, but if I was going to play...
You stay on the flat at third a lot. Yeah.
That's the way I hear it.
That's it. That's the blues sound. Do you have a high action or low action on your guitar?
Quite low. I don't like to have heavy corns on my fingers because sometimes they itch and they get sore and all that. So on my fingers, because while playing now you can see the dents, but usually it's no corn, with the exception, I think we did quite a bit of it yesterday, but normally it's no corn on my fingers at all where you can see. I mean, you got the soft corns on them, and usually there aren't any other. So I usually keep the action quite low, up just enough to where it won't, you know, won't ring against the frets. But I carry pretty heavy strings on the bottom, especially. On the top, I've got a 10 on the E string here. The second string is a 13. Third string is a 17. 30 on the D string. 42 or 44, I think. 44 on the A string, and a 54 usually is what I like on the E string.
So you have very heavy bottoms.
Yeah, very heavy bottom, because as a blues player, I still, like when I do hit these chords, I don't want them to sound tingy. I want them. So if you're hitting, and if the strings wasn't as heavy, I don't think you'd get as big a sound.
And any particular choice of amps that you use, or?
I carry the Lab, the L5, the Lab system, which they've been out of print for a while. I hear that they're making some more, but I bought up about 5 or 6 of them and usually keep them for myself. But a good amplifier is what we're using today is the Fender Twin. The Fender Twins are very good. One thing is good about them, you can find them anywhere, and they seem to be pretty near the same.
Right.
When I'm home, when I say home in the continental United States, and my bus can be with me, then I can have one. But I don't ship them over. That's one of the things that, with a small group like I have, we don't ship instruments with the exception of Lucille, I keep with me all the time. But other than my guitar, or my bass player, and my guitarist, each one of them, we just carry our instruments, and we use whatever amp that's there. A lot of times, 2/3 of the times when I'm traveling, especially abroad, I never see the amplifier until I go on stage.
But you still get your sound. That's amazing.
Well, I try hard. Another little secret that I usually do, and that is the amp that I have, whatever it might be, the master volume usually is up all the way.
All the way to 10. Yeah.
And I control the rest of it from the guitar, from here. So usually I can hear pretty well the sound that I want. That's why I can say usually to technicians when we work on whatever sound they want there, I'll get what I want from here.
That's it. I think we touched upon this a little earlier, but I think we should go into this a little more in depth since you are world-renowned for this, and that's your vibrato.
Okay, well, what happens usually, I will hold maybe the neck to get started, like with the thumb, but mostly when I touch the string, my hand is not on the neck at all afterward. Because it comes from the wrist, it comes from here.
So you shake the whole hand?
The whole hand like this. But you try as if you was weighing a pound of feathers over here and a pound of lead here. You try to even them. That's not making much sense, is it? But you try to even the trill, if you will. And so, and if you do that, you'll hear just about as much up as you do down.
So do you push the string up, or do you go both ways?
It's just, I guess technically it's both ways, but it's not, not that. So you're almost in the same spot, but just a little twist, twist this way, that way.
Now, I notice you do that with all 4 fingers, too.
All 4 fingers.
Regardless of where you are. So how would you suggest that someone that's just starting to play the blues develop their own vibrato?
Well, I would say to them, just as it's awkward for me to use a bottleneck doing this, it may be awkward for them to do this or do that. So what you try to do, and you got to practice though, that's one thing you must do. Anybody that plays need to practice. Some people that are apt, you know, and can think real good may not need to practice as much as anybody. But if you want to get better with what you do, you got to practice. So I would say put your finger on the string, hold it down, listen to it first, so you hear it. Now, which sounds best to you? To me, the faster I do that, the better it sounds to me. To a speed of where I'm comfortable with the sound, which is close to the vibrato in a person's voice, I think is what I'm hearing.
Right.
It first starts like dropping a pedal in the water. It starts here, and then the waves go.
And you'd suggest doing it with every finger?
Every finger. Even though I can do it with all fingers, it seemed to me that the second one I'm the best with. This one, I guess I do it more. But after a while, you find that either one is good. But I hope that, you know, you'll do it with taste, meaning that not simply because you can do it, that the first time you hit the string, you know. So if I'm playing, every time I hit a note, it doesn't sound right, so.
You have to know where to put it.
That's what I'm trying to say. Thanks, you helped me out. But there are other times when so I don't want it there.
You'll bend up and you won't use a vibrato. Yeah. Do you ever use a vibrato when you do bend up?
Seldom. I would seldom do that. I can't find a word. It doesn't seem to fit.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to fit for me. So I would rather do, because this is where I really want to tell my story. I'm leading to the story. If that makes sense.
It makes complete sense. Let's talk about your bending. I'd like to get your bending technique a little in depth. Do you, when you bend with your third finger, do you use the first two fingers as support, or do you just bend with a finger by itself, or what's your technique with that? Do you use your thumb as a support?
Let me see, what do I do? Let me figure it out. I think I kind of use as a second finger for support. Yeah. By holding the three there, this is like from a cold start, if you will.
Yeah.
And once you start it, though, from what I call a cold start, I mean the beginning.
Right, yeah.
Then you can, then I think it's just each finger for itself then.
Yeah, I noticed with the first finger, you just use the finger.
You see?
Yeah.
A lot of times to not, if I'm kind of in a hurry, when I say in a hurry, it's like the patterns are moving pretty fast on me. And I got a lot I want to do within the bar there. excuse me, a lot I want to do within the bar. So when you might, if you had time, if you know, if the pattern is moving slowly, but most times you don't know. In my case, I'm not sure where I'm going to be, so because once I get my introduction there going, then I can kind of take my time and place the notes wherever I feel. And don't get me wrong, it's not like you got a checkerboard and you see, well, move here, move there. It's not that, but you study hearing it going through your head and listen to the changes at the same time.
So the first bend you did was like a quick bend. You just yanked it up. And then if you have time, you take your time with
if I had time.
Let's see that. There we go, yeah. Maybe you can play the fast one and then the slow one, just so we can compare them. That's great. So the slow one is almost a gliss. You're just almost glissing up while you're bending. Do you ever bend with the fourth or second fingers?
Not much.
Not much.
Well, but this one here, no.
Yeah.
I mostly do that one like, this is really a spare. In other words, if you ain't got nothing else left up here, he's busy, then you.
One more thing, when you just sit at home all alone and you have the guitar in your hand, you stretch out sometimes? You play things that you normally wouldn't play on stage?
Yeah, and stumble all over the place, But what I do now, like if you take a computer, I got a computer at home and I got Deluxe Music software there, and I put that on and I'll put something in it that I like to play with, a bounce or something funky or something soft. And so I program it to play something that I like. And then I'll play along with it, and then don't care where and what I try to play. So that's the one way I've kind of advanced my playing a little bit from that. But prior to the computer, what I would do then was maybe find a record or something that is playing something that I can hear the changes pretty well, and then you just go on and play with that.
You want to try some of that now? Stretching out a little bit?
Just a hair.
Just a hair, all right.
Just a hair.
All right.
All right, let's see. Let's have, let's say, we haven't did anything in F sharp, have we? So F sharp would be just a little different.
You got it. Yeah. Well, it's been a real pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much. It's been fun for me.
Yeah, we've learned a lot.